A TikToker might testify in the trial. We'll go over that and then a lot of psychiatric testimony in today's recap of day 11 in the Lindsay Clancy trial. I'm going to go over this part very quickly. Attorney Reddington, before the jury came in this morning, argued that he would like to call Emily Thorndike as a witness. She previously worked at McLean Hospital, but it wasn't during the time that Lindsay Clancy was a patient. Emily recently posted a TikTok criticizing how McLean Hospital has been portrayed on the stand, specifically the suggestion that Lindsay would have had plenty of treatment and programming available for her over the New Year's Eve weekend, and she just didn't take advantage of that. Prosecutors pointed out that Emily has been following this trial, posting about it and criticizing the prosecution. The judge has not made a decision yet, but it sounds like he would really rather this testimony come in from someone that worked at McLean Hospital at the time, but he did say that information about holiday staffing and programming could potentially be relevant, so stay tuned for what happens with that motion. The first witness today was Julie Paul. She got back on the stand for cross-examination by the defense, but there wasn't really anything to it to summarize. It was very, very short. The only other witness today was Rebecca Gelata, the psychiatric nurse practitioner who took over Lindsay's care after Julie Paul left the South Shore Perinatal Mental Health Program. I'm going to walk you through her chronological treatment of Lindsay Clancy. When I talk about messages, those were all done through the MyChart portal. Her first meeting with Lindsay was virtual on November 29th, 2022. Lindsay had been taking Remeron for only 4 nights and she was still struggling with severe insomnia, anxiety, and depression. Her postpartum depression score that day was 17 out of 30. Gelata described Lindsay as anxious, but her thinking was linear and goal-directed. She saw no mania or psychosis, and Lindsay was not reporting thoughts of harming herself or anyone else. The very next day, on November 30th, Lindsay messaged Gelata asking if she could stop the Remeron because she felt that her depression and sleep issues were getting worse. Lindsay said that she could not keep going on like this, but when Gelata specifically asked if she was having thoughts of self-harm, Lindsay said that she was not at that point. On December 1st, Lindsay messaged again, and she said that she started having very intrusive thoughts that she had never experienced before. By December 2nd, those messages became even more concerning. Lindsay said that she had taken Remeron and Seroquel, woke up with horribly intrusive thoughts about wanting everything to be over, but then she took Ativan, went back to sleep, and the thoughts went away. She was becoming convinced that she was dependent on Ativan. She told Gelata she felt like providers were throwing medications at her insomnia without addressing what she believed was the real problem. She also described feeling completely numb and said that she felt like she was going to die and she did not care. Gelata testified that she interpreted that as a possible symptom of depression, and she gave Lindsay crisis resources in case things became worse. She did not tell Lindsay to immediately go to the emergency room. On December 3rd, Lindsay messaged again. She said that she had gone without Ativan and she had been deeply depressed with horrible intrusive thoughts throughout the day. She eventually took Ativan and told Gelata that the thoughts went away and she felt good. Gelata began working on a plan to get Lindsay off of the benzos more gradually, and that included transitioning her from Ativan to the longer-lasting Valium. Then we get to December 6th. This was an appointment where Patrick actually attended with Lindsay in person. Lindsay's depression score that day had risen to a 21 out of 30. That's the postpartum depression scale. Gelata still described her as anxious but organized with linear, goal-directed thinking and no psychosis or mania. However, this was also the first day that Gelata raised the possibility that Lindsay could have an underlying bipolar disorder. Lindsay had previously reported that after taking Zoloft, she went about 48 hours without sleeping, but that did not make her tired. Gelata was also considering her racing thoughts and her unusual reactions to antidepressants, which can happen in someone that has bipolar. Patrick responded to this suggestion and said, "My wife is not bipolar," and Gelata said that Lindsay just looked at her but did not reply. Gelata did not diagnose Lindsay with bipolar disorder because she did not believe that she met the full criteria at that point. The next morning, on December 7th, Lindsay was messaging on MyChart again. She said the night had gone terribly, she had become desperate enough to take Benadryl, had barely slept, and wrote, "I really need help." Over the next several days, Gelata continued changing the medication plan, increasing Seroquel, and working on the Valium taper. Lindsay did eventually begin sleeping 7 or 8 hours, but she said that she felt incredibly depressed, unmotivated, and numb during the daytime. On December 12th, Lindsay told the office that she wanted to stop all of her medications. Gelata advised her not to abruptly stop and said that she strongly recommended partial hospitalization. On December 13th, they had another virtual appointment. Lindsay was sleeping better, but she was still describing herself as hopeless and numb. She had been experiencing intrusive thoughts about harming herself and not wanting to be alive, but she did not report a plan or intent, and she did not report any thoughts about harming her children. Then, on December 15th, Lindsay and Patrick were both on a call with Gelata. Lindsay described this as her worst day. Her and Patrick agreed that she needed to be evaluated for a higher level of care. Lindsay went on that day to the General Hospital Emergency Department. The next day, on December 16th, she messaged Gelata saying that she had gone to the emergency room and was waiting to get into the Women and Infants outpatient program in Rhode Island. On December 20th, Lindsay messaged again and said that she had been discharged from Women and Infants and had been told to get help coming off of Seroquel. So she was only there for a partial day before she was discharged. That became extremely important during cross-examination. Reddington asked Gelata if she knew that Women and Infants had concerns that Lindsay had been over-medicated and was experiencing depression related to adverse medication effects. Gelata said that she did not know that. She also acknowledged that she had never spoken directly with Lindsay's other psychiatrist, Dr. Jennifer Tufts, and she did not know about at least 2 of the medications that Tufts had prescribed to Lindsay. On December 21st, Gelata gave Lindsay a schedule to taper off of the Seroquel and additional behavioral health resources. That was Gelata's last direct contact with Lindsay. But on December 30th, Patrick called the office. He said that Lindsay was safe but wanted to go to McLean Hospital for inpatient psychiatric treatment. Patrick wanted to know if they could arrange a bed without spending the day in the emergency room. He was told that that could not happen. A bed could not be safe for someone, so they would either need to go to the emergency room and request inpatient and see if that would be approved, or call 911 in order to be admitted. Just a few more various notes on the cross-examination of Gelata. Reddington said that between Gelata and Dr. Tufts, Lindsay had approximately 17 mental health appointments from September through December. He also once again went over all of the medications, but we've covered those in previous recaps. Reddington directly asked if Gelata believed that Lindsay was doctor shopping or medication shopping, and Gelata said no. He also asked her to confirm that Lindsay actually wanted to be off of all of her medications, and Gelata did confirm that. She also agreed that Lindsay had been very forthcoming with her about her symptoms, medications, and concerns. Reddington also asked her about how many patients she has treated with postpartum psychosis, and she said 5 women. Some of them heard voices, others did not. On redirect, the prosecutors brought it back to what Gelata personally saw with Lindsay. Gelata said Lindsay never expressed a plan or intent to harm herself, never reported thoughts of harming her children to her, and throughout the time that she treated Lindsay, she never believed Lindsay was suffering from postpartum psychosis. That is the recap for day 11. There were many more MyChart messages than what I went over in this summary. Lindsay seemed to be struggling, wanting to change medications, stop medications, not taper down on medications at times, but you let me know what you think about day 11. I'll be back tomorrow with another recap, and until then, and most importantly, rest in peace to the 3 children at the center of this case, Callan, Dawson, and Cora.